everyone, and welcome back to another little review, and welcome back to Nova Project, I should say. I'm your host as ever, Peppermint08, joined once more by my wife, the Obsidian Nook slash Petal ASMR, all that good shit that she usually goes by. Why don't you say hello? Hello. We have just got back. Well, I say just got back. We watched it yesterday as of recording, and this should come out the day after we record. We went and watched A Quiet Place Day 1, a film that I've been looking forward to for a little while since it basically first got revealed, because I am a big fan of the series. I haven't seen the second one though, saying that. We got it on DVD now, that will come at some point in the future, but because we are currently doing Day 1 and the original back-to-back, I thought maybe we should have a bit of a break before we do A Quiet Place Part 2. So, basically, if you're not familiar, it's the long-awaited prequel for an alien apocalypse, if you're not familiar, where they hunt by sound. We had to watch the first one so you would get a general sort of gist of what's going down. So yeah, we went and watched it in the cinema, like the second day it came out. What day was yesterday? Friday. It was a bit quiet, the cinema, despite getting good reviews online, but
it was still me, because there were still a lot of people in there, and it's really awkward to eat popcorn with that film.
Yeah, when you've got a film, admittedly this one is a bit louder than the first one, especially because I said to you about the first one being so deathly quiet for most of it.
I'm not arsehole right now, it's just like making really loud noise, punching.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is very off-putting when there's a really quiet scene and you can just hear. But no, yeah. So we watched it in the cinema. As I said, it's a lot louder than the first one, mainly because it rains a few times and we ended up having some actual dialogue. Unlike the first one, where that was mainly down to just like when they were in the waterfall. But considering it, obviously it's day one, so we need to talk, of course, about Nico slash Schnitzel, the cat that played. I found them on Instagram as well.
Oh, they have an Instagram?
They have an Instagram. Yeah, they're two cat actors named Nico and Schnitzel that play the. I will find it. I will find it in a minute. But
basically, Kitty in the he's a actor kind of looks at the cat when he's leading, like.
That cat is.
He's like, I know.
That cat is incredibly smart and like.
Oh my goodness.
These cats were incredibly loyal. But yeah, there's a photo of him in a cast chair.
He was so loyal to
Sam, who is played by Lupita Nyong'o, who is a brilliant actor. She's done things like Us. He was obviously in it. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things. We will talk about them in a minute. This cat is like omnipotent. This cat always knows where Sam is.
The kitty went for.
Oh, we have to spoil it a little bit. The cat fucking survives. The cat survives the film. My god, I was terrified any time a monster was near them. Yeah, the one from the shop. I'm fairly sure they did a post with him in it as well, the ginger cat. There they are, that sat together. It's like when they did the Pet Cemetery one with the cat that leans in for the photo.
Pet Cemetery.
Here he is, look. His name is Stan Lee.
He's so... like, I don't know guys have seen it, but there's a photo of the Pet Cemetery cat. I haven't seen the Pet Cemetery, but the kitty leans in. Kitty's got a massive smile on his face.
He's got a smile and he leans in for like a press pic. That is also... The ginger cat in the film is the brother of Frodo in real life. Excuse me.
What, the person or
Frodo the cat.
Oh,
yeah. That was the name of the cat in the film, you fucking knob.
Oh.
Sorry, anyway. But yeah, this cat goes for a lot. This cat is way too smart as well. Like he finds Eric, which is Joseph Quinn's character, and brings him back to Sam. Who, may I just say, looks like Lupita Nyong'o lost a lot of weight for her role, because her character is terminally ill with some sort of cancer that isn't specified. And
that hurt.
it's very sad. I can imagine that hit quite home for you, quite close to home with you, after everything that happened with your mum.
It's just, even she knew she was determined, and I know
She really wanted to get this movie. To sum up the plot, is to sum up the plot very quickly. It's basically a quest for pizza in the middle of an apocalypse, which it has some.
I want to say it's got like a little bit of romance in it, but I don't know.
No, I don't think they don't force a romance subplot between these two. There's no kissing or love. I think Eric, even though he barely knows Sam, he wants to do everything he can to make sure her last bit of time together is, well, her last time, bit of time on Earth, even with the apocalypse going on. He wants to make it special. This film is marketed as a horror, but there's a lot of sincere moments where it's more about the characters than the world around them.
It doesn't feel horror because I know there's times where you kind of shut off.
It's moments because as you if you've seen the first one, which I also saw in the cinema, we'll have that review in a couple of days. We wanted to get this one done first because it's the newer one.
For me, it's like, you know, watched it on DVD, you don't hear the clear sound of the thumping of the monsters with their feet and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot more bassier when you're in the cinema.
Hence why I think jumping a bit more. Like, obviously it's more loud and it's
You're in the dark when we watched A Quiet Place the day before we watched this, and it was sort of like the middle of the afternoon. We had the fan on because it's British summer.
The television don't project the
No, you haven't got like the surround, but
as well as the cinema. It's some of the power bits. So when you go to the cinema, you're a bit more like jumpy. It's funny though, because like you kept jumping and then I'd jump, trying not to throw popcorn everywhere.
yeah. The problem is when you've got a film that has no sound, because obviously the aliens hunt by sound, so everyone has to be quiet. It brings your guard down a lot more, because they then, unfortunately, with horror films, they tend to have loud noises jump you. The thing itself is usually not that scary. It's usually just the loud noise that gets you. But that happened a lot. But if we go back to like the whole, it's like a horror film, but it's less horror because of all the character moments.
I think personally, I would never watch Saw again. I think I watched one of the Hostels out of curiosity, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, don't watch Hostel. I may cover this film in the future.
He doesn't like horror-y, gory stuff. Like Miles, so if you're a person who hates horror, scary stuff, this film will definitely be for you because you won't like.
There is blood. There's like stains where people have been killed by the monsters. There's no like mutilated corpses. A lot of the bodies, like early on in the film when the asteroids first hit and the people are going around in like the ash from where it hit, they mostly just get yoinked out of the darkness. They were like in the first Quiet Place. There's a few like bodies that have been like eviscerated, but as opposed to this, most people get jumped and then taken by the monster instead of just being killed and left there. So there's no real gore. People die, but there's no actual like people getting decapitated of blood and guts and ugh. Yeah, them fuckers are fast. It really ups the ante in this one because there's a lot more of them because it's New York and loads of them hit it, rather than the first one where it's like mostly in the countryside. And like when the helicopters are going overhead and there's like a stampede of them, that is horrifying to think of. But it's more of it's hard to say if it's a horror, but it's not an action. It's a bit of a thriller, I'd say, more than horror. But
I'm kind of annoyed because it took when they went under. Because you know she went under the planet and she gave those children like.
Yeah.
And it was like I think it was about then she started figuring out that like thundering and screaming talks that one was.
Yeah, it's a callback to the first one where they have like continuous noise lets you. She does figure that out though, because when it starts to rain, a woman is walking down the street like audibly crying. Like she's not just like tears aren't just going down her face. She's physically like gasping and going. Oh. So she sort of she comes to that realization that this like while there's continuous noise like this heavy rain, you can't. Like,
I'm curious to see whether they do another one and she'll actually figure out that they can do certain things like you see in the first Quiet Place they do it in the other one. And then with this one I'm kind of hoping that if they do know kind of how to fuck them up.
Yeah.
Essentially.
The thing is, at the end of the first one we'll discuss it more in depth when we do that one, but one of the characters in that finds out that high-pitched noises can disorient they aren't officially named Death Angels, but that's what the fandom has sort of named them, and that's like kind of their official name. But high-pitched noises then open up their armor, allowing them to be shot, which is why the military gets off-screen, admittedly, but even though it's a day goes by, the military is basically wiped out. Minus like the boats and the helicopters where they can't get like attacked on.
They can't swim.
They can't swim as well. That is something they brought up in the second one.
Planet.
Yeah.
If they can't swim, can't. So it's a bit like they came off from a meteor when their planet.
Yeah, according to John Krasinski, their planet exploded, and all of the asteroids that come in on are basically like fragments of what used to be their planet.
So it made me. I'm kind of curious what their atmosphere, their planet would have been like.
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions which I think is left deliberately ambiguous, which I think helps the sort of mystery of it. Excuse me. But yeah, I was surprised of how much I enjoyed this, because as soon as I heard it was going to be a prequel, I was a bit skeptical. So I was like, how can they do something new from a franchise that's already had 2 films in it?
Live it. So you have the
Yeah.
Kent.
Shout out to our boys in Kent. It's not too far away from us, is it?
Then it would be like, we'd just be like, oh fuck, there you go.
Can I have a cup of tea if I can't boil me kettle? But
I would love to see a British edition of White Blade, because
yeah, they have a globe that someone is like marking off locations that have been hit by the aliens. So it does give that it sort of opens different paths for new stories that we aren't familiar with. Like, I thought that maybe they would have shoehorned the first 2 films' characters into this somehow, because the town that from the first one isn't too far away from like Manhattan. It's in New York, but I thought maybe we would have seen them. Admittedly, there is the character from the second one, played by a guy whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce.
I'm actually bring the previous main characters, just because if we're going on day 1 and nobody knows anything about it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like they would have lost you.
Yeah, from the clips I've seen, if they had shoehorned them into this one, it would have contradicted what they'd set up in the second one. Because in the second one, there are clips of the original attack, where they are at the time. So if they were like, "Oh, we're now suddenly in Manhattan," it would be like, "How? Why?"
Yeah, but I just think like you wouldn't have had, because obviously nobody knows anything to do with triggers.
And they do a good job at showing people's like genuine sort of reactions to what would happen with this. But there are people who are crying. Everyone sort of like basically huddles together. It's your sort of usual like apocalypse thing. There are idiots who still don't understand like what causes it, even though everyone has come to their own conclusions of what gets people killed. People still like choose to ignore it. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to enjoy this that much, despite being a big fan of the first one, and obviously we're going to watch the second one at some point.
I'm shooting myself now in case that actually happens to us more.
Yeah, that's one of the things, isn't it? It's like, Jesus, you never know.
Starsy Road, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the main things. It's like, why does this cat not ever, like, meow during this film?
Pretty impressed.
Yeah, considering we've got 3 and one of them will not ever shut the fuck up, especially without his treats. But yeah, I've definitely very much enjoyed this. Every time the cat was anywhere near danger, I got scared that they were going to kill it. But
no, that kitty's way too.
Yeah, that kitty is fucking smart. But I mean, except for the bit where he just like walks into the nest, like where all the fucking aliens are like gathering and eating for the first time in the series. They are eating some weird fucking shit that's like growing where they crashed. So I'm just gonna have a drink.
Wait.
Yeah, it's like this little like pod that's like growing out the ground that they rip open and they all eat out of it. But it still doesn't.
Did you call the rest to dinner?
Yeah, he like called them and they all came climbing out the wreckage. It was nasty. But it still doesn't. There's still some questions that they answered questions, but also left a few more that still like were asked before. Like, the main thing is like, they don't eat what they kill, but all of the people's bodies have disappeared. As Sam is walking around, and in the later film, like in A Quiet Place, there's no dead bodies littering the area. Like, all the bodies have disappeared, so it begs the question of what do the fucking things do with them? But the main thing was like, if they can't swim. So realistically, they can't drink water. But what do they eat if they don't eat the bodies? So, well, exactly. That clearly wasn't a corpse, unless they somehow like, yeah, or soccer if you like to use the wrong word. But it does beg the question: what happens to all the bodies? Whether or not they turn it into some sort of like killer clowns from outer space, cotton candy. You have no idea what that means, but there may be a few people out there that know what killer clowns from outer space is like. I'm skeptical about the video game that's coming out for that, but anyway, we're not talking about that. So yeah, that about sums it up. We're gonna do a best kill, worst kill while we're at it, because we have to, and we're trying to sort of shoehorn it into the end of these now. So the worst kill, a lot of the kills are off screen mostly. Like we say, there's no like explicit like murder. Like,
sorry.
Yeah, I immediately at the beginning I was like, yeah, that's gonna be our worst kill. But the best kill is gonna go to Ruben. His name is played by Alex Wolff of Hereditary fame. I think his name is. I think that's the film. It's the guy. In the trailer for the film, it's an old guy that powers down the generator and gets yoinked, but instead it's like Sam's. I don't want to say cancer nurse, but it's almost like a carer.
Oh yeah.
The guy who turns the generator off and then his shirt gets ripped and then he gets grabbed. Yeah, so it's difficult to pick, but the build up for that, the atmosphere, you sort of knew it was going to happen.
I was going to say.
Yeah, so I think he's kind of a carer sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that could be like a day thing they got to.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think he gets it because that's a good scene where he turns the generator off and then he doesn't get immediately attacked, but then the shirt rips and then he gets grabbed. Because the generator goes off, they stand there for a minute and nothing happens, so you think, oh, maybe they're alright. Then his shirt gets caught and ripped, and then he gets yoinked. It's a good scene, it's a good atmosphere, it's a out-of-nowhere sort of kill that has some genuine, like, trauma for Sam. But the worst kill I was initially going to give to all the people that get yoinked out of the asteroid dust in the beginning. Pardon me. Because I was like, well, they literally just, you don't see the monster attack them, they just sort of get dragged away. But the thing is, at least then you have a rough idea of what's going to happen to them. Whereas there is a guy who gets killed when he starts crying, thinking the world is going to end, and the character whose name is Henry from the second film, who run the island, just sort of smacks his head against the wall once and he's dead. So I sort of thought, that's a bit too boring. Whereas at least you can think about the nasty shit that's going to happen to the people who get yoinked. So yeah, that about sums it up, really, unless you've got anything else you want to say.
I'm just glad the cat's alright.
Yeah, the cat survives, and that's all that matters. And the ending is really sad that we will not spoil because it's still a fresh film. So yeah, I've been your host as ever, Pathfinder8, joined once more by my wife, the Obsidian Nook /PatLSMR, whose links you can find in the description down below alongside all of mine. And we will see you next time for A Quiet Place Part 1, or whatever you want to call it, the first film. Bye!